Hi everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe. And this is part 3 of build the Polar Lights TOS Enterprise, the 1/350 scale, the monster. And if you're just finding this episode, welcome. But there are 2 previous episodes that sort of build up to this and give you a lot of detail and explanation about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But briefly, this is a kit that's been on the market for a long time, and there's a lot of talented modelers that have attacked it, built it, and shown their wares online. And that was the key reason for me wanting to do this now. Primarily, obviously, it's a model everybody, if you're into fantasy, if you're into Star Trek, you have to have this in your collection if you're a hobbyist. You just have to. It's the holy grail, as my good friend Lou Dalmeso says, of kits. And we want to show it off with pride. And that is the key element to why I was sort of driven to want to do this now, because you have all of that incredible wealth of information and knowledge on the internet now, on YouTube and all these channels and clubs and forums that share all their knowledge and information about what they did and how they did it and why they did what they did and the problems they had. And it's everything from lighting to your seams to masking or not masking and how you handle windows and do you put the windows in? Some don't. Some use microcrystal clear or canopy glue through a syringe after everything has been painted. Do you prime first? Do you all of these things? And when you are approaching this model for the first time and you're not sure, all of that just starts to build up in your head. And, if you're anything like me, you start to go, whoa, hang on. This is just a way too much information. So that's why I thought, wow, what an exciting opportunity to dive in now. And I have to tell you, I found it a lot more comforting to attack this. I didn't feel so intimidated. I felt like I could put a real workflow together, a plan together that wasn't crazy, wasn't intimidating, and it's been really useful to have all the information. So quickly, let me tell you what my plan has been. I started out by obviously cleaning all of the kit, prepping it, making sure that every part was washed in warm soapy water. The chances of there being release agent on this kit are very low, but do it because I think it's worth it. So that was step 1. And again, everything I'm telling you is not necessarily from my experience. It's from a mutual experience and knowledge that I've gained. So the things I'm telling you, every step that I'm taking is because it almost has a surety, because I know that the steps that I'm taking have been proven by other successful modelers. And that is the whole impetus for doing this. And hopefully along the way, getting some of you who I know have this in your stash, who may have built it and said, I didn't do a great job, but I want to tackle it again. Or those who haven't tackled it and want to tackle it, join me. Break open that box and let's get this kit on your shelf where it belongs. And so in this stage, in this part 3, I have gotten to the lighting aspect of it. Now, in part 1, I talked about the various different lighting opportunities that you have, whether it's from Voodoo Effects, or whether it's from Tennacontrols, or whether it's just the Polar Light supplemental lighting kit. And perhaps there's a few others that I'm not thinking about that I'm sure are out there. Or you just want to go ahead and do it yourself because you know how to, because you can program an Arduino board, or and put your own lighting in it, and all of that is awesome, and all of that experience, by the way, is out there for everybody to tackle and look at. But I thought, for a mediocre modeler like myself, who genuinely does come to this bench every day and want to learn something, I want to get better. I want to be considered a good modeler, and I will only get there by continuing to hone my skill and learn from some of the greats. And you know, if you've got a guru or you've got a friend out there who is a lot more competent than you, lean on them, ask them questions. Most of the time, they'll be more than happy to help you. And you've got to have one. Everybody's got to have one. And that's what makes this community so great, by the way, because it can be such a this hobby can, you know, put you in a dark room for hours and hours and hours. So it's not exactly the kind of thing that, you know, unless we join hobby groups or something else like that, we're sort of out and about. We tend to be sort of, you know, very closeted. But anyway, so let me show you what we've got here. This is the base of the saucer. It's the underneath side, I should say, of the saucer. I have obviously primed it. All of the windows are in, and what I did is I used I've been using the this lighting plan that comes with the lighting kit. Now they've just reissued this lighting kit again, and they said they made some improvements, and I actually think that is true. I think they have made some improvements. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those. But what my strategy was to use a combo of kits. I have used the supplemental lighting kit from Polar Lights, and I've augmented it with the kit from Tennacontrols. And I'll sort of talk about why in just a minute. But all the windows are in. And the reason why all the windows are in is because I have this. I have two of these. It is from AZTEK Dummy. And if you don't know who AZTEK Dummy is, you need to know. This is, not only is he a good friend and an incredibly talented model builder, and I know he's blushing right now because I do this all the time to him, so he probably is turned off and left. That's okay. But the masks are great. It's a great product. I get two of everything because, you know, it's great to have it in your stash. And, you know, for me, it won't be the last time I build this kit, but I love this product. And it's a really simple product. So I want to talk quickly about the windows because what you get here is you get a really insightful set of instructions. Here they are on two sides, incredibly insightful, and it will show you how to do all the things you need to do to really spiff this up. And so that's really terrific. And so it's not just the window template, it's the clear parts as well, and also it's the inner nacelle dome. So, you know, these strips, as he says, are provided to be placed on the indents of the inner dome, the one that spins. Depending on the speed of the motor and how you like the effect it gives, you may want to only put stripes on every other indent. It's up to you. You just stick them on and leave them. So it's one step and you're done. So now, the reason why I think that's important is because in the paragraphics pack that I'm using, you do get some photo etch that you can put on. Now, those little strips that you get in the photo etch, they do have to be annealed, meaning you got to take a heat source to them to take the springiness out of them. And why? Because by the time you have sanded down that outer dome to give it that diffused look, what you really only need is that shadow effect. And I'm using the Tennacontrols effect for my Bassards. I'm not going to use the motors, because I do not want the noise. I just want it to be super quiet. Now, if you do want to use the motors and you don't want to use just the other effect, you certainly can. And there's a couple of really good tutorials out there on how to dampen those motors. But I digress. So what I've done is, as I said, I put in all of my clear parts. All the glass is in now. And it's had 3 coats of primer, right? So it had a coat of the Duplo to start with, after I sanded this down with 600 grit. Then I sanded it again with 600 grit, let that dry, and then I hit it with Mr. Surfacer 1200, 1000, and then I sanded it again and I hit it again with the 1200. And I can tell you, this is super smooth. It's baby smooth. I've got crisp guidelines for all of the various indents, and so I'm absolutely ready to go. And so that is that. And so what I can do now is I can take AZTEK Dummy's masking window set, and I can now apply those, and he's got excellent instructions on how to do that. So I can now apply those, and I will apply those to the windows. And then once they are applied to the windows, and my lighting is tested and ready to go, this can be sealed up. Now, if you'll notice, and I think. Let me try just for yeah. So if you'll notice, here is the oh, that's interesting. Oh, let's see. I didn't. That's because I didn't glue it. Oh, I didn't. It popped off. Huh. Let me fix that. What I wanted to say to you was that my hot glue, which obviously didn't work there, but you know, that could happen. It's all good. You have this system now that is the redesign of the lighting system that they talk about in this kit. And what I'm referring to is the Polar Lights lighting kit. Sorry here, why you're watching me on camera as I put just a little bit of super glue behind this just to hold that in place. And there it goes. And they talked about the new and improved system. And I wanted to use that system to, because I thought, you know, as I always say, I'm a bit of a test kitchen, and I wanted you to know what experience I had with it. And I wanted to know, I was just curious. And I have to say, it is definitely new and improved. Now, for 12 volts, what I would highly recommend, if you have the skill and you don't have this kit, you'll see here, this is a LED strip. It's 12 volt, and they come in sections of 3 with these points here. You all know this, so I apologize in advance if I'm showing you something you don't already know. But there's a cut line, and you cut on those lines, and you get 3 individual lights. Now, you don't have to cut them on those lines. You can cut them anywhere you want. But the point is, those are approved cut lines to make sure you are able to light those 3, because each one of those 3 is resisted. So you don't have to do anything other than attach your wires. And if you have a little bit of skill, you can go ahead and solder your negative lead and your hot lead to this, and off you go. And I think, you know, I have to say, you're going to be better off for it, I think. but that is the preferred method. It's not the method I used today. What I used was from the kit. Now I'm just using this for the strip lighting here in the main on the saucer. But what they did was the old system. Let me, yeah. The old system had these sort of black little plugs, and you pushed your strip lighting into it, and that was it. The odds of that coming out or getting loose or not working were about about 100%. But what they've done is they've replaced it with this little grabber unit. Now, if I open the side that they've pre-wired, they've done a really nice job. These little plates, they drop in here, as you can see, and they have the positive and the negative connection. You have a nice clasp on there, and on the other side, another very nice tight clasp. And when you open that, what you see are these two points of contact. And what you do is you take your light and you simply push it, you insert it in like this, and it goes in quite easily. You insert it in like that, and you slide it under those contact points. And I'm here to tell you it works. And because you can see, I wanted to show you on this side. Now, let me hold that still. And you can see where I have got these little punch holes. And those punch holes were created by the pressure that happens when you then close this up. And you hear it click, and it's in there, and it's not coming out. And it's a tremendous amount of pressure, and it works. And so I was really happy with that. I thought, okay, I can live with that. And sure enough, it absolutely does work. And just to prove it, I'm going to plug this in to my main board here. So this is my H, so it goes into, let's see, there's H. Let's see here, where am I? Yep, that's H. You want to be triple sure because, there. So you hear that click, and then I've got my sort of extra long wire here and a 9-volt battery. And bingo. And you can see, now it's not great, not super bright here, but everything is on. And what I would highly recommend you do is I would highly recommend that you, when you're all fired up, before you seal anything up, turn these on and let them burn in. You want to let them burn in, and the reason why you want to let them burn in is because it will make a huge difference in terms of, you'll see a little bit of flicker go away, they'll get used to it, and if you've got anything that's going to burn out or break, better you know before you seal everything up, because once you seal everything up and it's not working anymore, you're pretty much, you're there. So anyway, however, what you also have on this bottom saucer are two white strobes. You have two colored ones for your port and starboard nav lights on the top saucer. And on the lower saucer, you have port starboard white lights. Those lights that come with the kit, actually those lights mysteriously do not come, I should say. They don't come with this kit. In the way you would think. They do come with two leads, but the idea is that those leads are supposed to light not only the bottom, but the top saucer SIMO. And so when you put either your clear pieces in the top saucer and you color them to your green and red for your nav lights on top, you obviously use your Tamiya clear. But the lower saucer is supposed to just be white. And so the idea is that those two lights that come with the kit are supposed to do both things. I don't like that. I want those lights to be punchy, and I want them to be independent of each other. And so I've crossed over to the Tennacontrols system. And so my Tennacontrols system will not be plugged into this board, except for one exception, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. Everything else from Tennacontrols will be on its own board, on its own power. It will share power with the other system because it's a 12-volt system, so you're not going to have any issues. Even if you wanted to run it at 9, you probably wouldn't have any issues. But I will tell you that this strip lighting prefers 12 to 9. It just does. And the other thing is that a battery, a 9-volt battery, as it starts to lose its juice, will not, those LEDs won't like that either. So if you can plug this into a wall unit, a step-down transformer, and there is one that comes with this setup, that's a preferred way to go because you'll have a constant source of power that doesn't wane. Anyway, I've tested these lights to make sure they work. And I know that there are clear parts that go into this. So what I have to do is I have to now attach these lights to the lower nav holes here, and they've got some clear parts that go in that, and they'll pop in there, and that will allow me to then independently light up that lower piece. And I do have the two lights that you are supposed to put in there, and I believe they're 133 on your dance chart, as it were. So let me just check my let me check my instructions just to make sure that I'm dealing with the right part here. So I'm on the lower saucer, and I'm looking for clear part 120. Clear part 120, and you do put it in now. Actually, 120 and 121. Yeah, 120 and 121, and there should be two sets of those. So I'm looking here for those numbers. See here. I may be on the wrong clear sheet. Let me look for the other one here, because we have two of these, obviously, and let's see here. It might come in this. Yeah, it probably is in this. It's probably in this one. So let me get this opened. And we'll pull out our DUMMs, and we'll talk about clear parts in a second, perhaps. I wanted to stay focused on this. Let's see here. I'm looking. Here they are. 120 is here. And I don't see one. Oh, here, 120 and 121. So they're here. We have found them, people of Earth. Here they are. And so the reason why this is important, obviously, is because they got to go in now. Excuse me, I apologize. And the other thing that's critical too is you don't want to make a mistake here now in terms of where these parts go, because the reason why I say that is because if you're supposed to get these in, which you are, then that will allow you to know just exactly where your light has to be attached, so that you can obviously mask that from the outside. And Lou gives you all of those masks, so we're good to go there. And I'll put this aside. And so we'll go back to this this angle. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to remove, this is my Tennacontrols light, and he clearly indicates what goes where. So the gray and the white leads are your white navs for the lower saucer. So he tells you that, so we know we're correct. So we can now, let's see, let's get a little bit of super glow. I have not had any issues with crazing, and since it's not a window, this is my preferred way to go. Only because I'm find for some reason that some of the other glues just they tend not to dry up fast enough for me. So that is in. And we'll now put in our little side light here. We'll dab, and we'll put this in. Oh, that's a good angle, isn't it? You can't see a bloody thing. I apologize. All right, so let's get this in. There she blows. And that's in. And give it a quick look. Everything is in and looking really spiffy. And okay, let's see here. Now I'm going to put in the other side. And these will go in. And these have a little, they're really cool. They have they're rounded, they've got little rounded tops. So you get that effect, which is really fun. I'll drop that in. There we go. You don't have to be perfect with it, but I think it's worth it. And we'll just put a little dab on this one, like that. And we'll get that one in. And so those are in. And so what that allows me to do now is carry on getting my strobe lights attached. And now I know exactly where my light needs to go. And so I can actually get these in place. And I can get exactly over the top of my nav. And I can hit that with a little bit of glue, a little bit of cool shot, so that I know that doesn't go anywhere. And And I'll put another one here over my foil tape. And yes, I've put reflector tape down, and you can see from my just from my work lights what that's doing. There you go. Let me get that close up for you so you can see that. There it is, and that's in. And you can see it's directly over the lens where it wants to be. So that's perfect. And so now I've got this little, there's a little notch here. There it is. And so that allows me to bring this wire through that notch. However, what I'm going to do, obviously, is because I need to get these lights down into the hull. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to extend them, right? So I have in my wire stash, I usually use. I'll show you what I usually use, which is the various different colors of this. This is my go-to, and I believe it's the wire that is actually being used by Ralph over at Tennacontrols on, and I think it's also the wire that's used at Evans Lighting. It's super thin. It comes in various different colors, and it's a solid strand as opposed to a woven strand. Now, full disclosure, I don't have any in gray, and I don't have any in white. So what do? Well, you got to go to your ribbon wire, right? And your ribbon wire is stranded. So a couple of things I do in order to make sure that I get a quality connection is I've got my shrink wrap, my tubing here. Here it is, and I believe this is. I think they call this 2 millimeter. I think that's what it is. So let me just get a little more. Look amongst yourselves while stare at this beautiful thing while I reach over to my trusty kit here and get a little more of this because I'm going to be using it. And what I like to do is I like to what's called tinning. And again, all of you who are watching this, who know all about this, guys, I apologize. You can zoom forward, you can tune out, you can do whatever. But I think these are important tips, and sometimes it's fun to stop. And the lighting process for this kit can be a little crazy if you've never done it before. And so what I like to do is get a piece that I know will cover my my splice, and I slide it on. And you can see what I've done here. I've slid it on. And there it is in the close-up. It gets slid over the wire like that. And then once it's slid over the wire, I'm ready to go. So what I do is I attach the two parts by twisting them together, like such. I twist them. So you get a good twist, like that. There's my twist. See? They're twisted together. And then, once it's twisted together, I like to use something called it's called fix fit. Now, Unfortunately, I've lost my label. It's gone. But what it is, it's a liquid solder. There's several brands out on the market, but I happen to have fallen in love with this one. And what you do is you just put a little bit, you just tap a little bit of this on the end of your, just like that. And what that's going to do, miracle of miracles, it's going to allow your solder to run really beautifully. And with a clean tip here, just get a little bit of solder and touch it to this. And that is a thing of beauty. That is absolutely sealed. And then, once you've got that sealed, you can then bring your heat shrink wrap up, you bend over your joint, crimp it, and like a little sock, this shrink tube will go right over your joint like that. And then just take a little flame to it for a second, just a second. That's all it takes. And that is beautifully insulated and nice and thin. I know that will fit into the neck of this. And I've got myself now enough wire that I can feed this down the neck, out of the saucer, through the neck, into the hull, and then out the front array, antenna array system in the front, and just let that dangle until I'm ready to attach everything to my board. And I can do that because I have enough wire. I can do that comfortably. I don't have to fiddle or worry about damaging anything. And so I've got four more of those to do, which I will do. That means I've got to attach my lights on both sides, which I will do, and we'll be off to the races. And so that will take care of my lower saucer strobe lights, and this will be complete. And with this complete, the next step will be to get all of the masks on the outside of this, and get those all on the windows. And I will show you what that looks like in the next segment here. Okay. So I have all the wiring complete on the lower portion of the saucer. And what I'm going to do now before I set this aside is get all the masks in. Now what I've done already is you can see here that I have I've started to put my masks in, and they are black. So what I like about that is because they're black, you'll know you've put a mask on your window. I do love the yellow as well, but I'm perfectly fine with the black. However, because of the way my eyes work, I do have a little bit of a difficult time with these super fine small ones. But you know, that's the reality of it. I mean, that's the size of the window. There's nothing anybody can do about that. But we are putting these on, and the way this works, which I think is quite nifty, is he has kindly identified, and when I say he, I mean the great Lou Del Meso over at AZTEK Dummy. He has kindly identified BC deck, saucer, neck, the rim, and then the body itself, and of course the shuttle bay and the impulse engines. So You know, you can't go wrong. And the reason why that's important is because he'll tell you in the instructions, he'll explain that, and perhaps this happened in the mold process, but there is a slight degree of difference in some of the windows. So you do want to pay attention to what he's telling you to do. Just follow his instructions and you will not go wrong. He's such a talented modeler, and the way his mind works, he's able to teach, and he's able to share with you something that's super simple to use. So all I ask you to do is read his instructions thoroughly and follow along with what he's asking you to do, and you won't have any problems. And what I'm doing right now is I'm putting in the windows, just gonna continue to mask these windows here. And I'll put one more on for you. You do not need to watch me do all of these, because if you did, you would actually be here all night. But you can see, here it goes, and it's on the tip of my blade, and you just line it up. It's that simple. And then just slide it in, hold it. Come on. Because I'm on camera, you don't want to do this, do you? You don't want to behave. There you go. And then it goes. And this, I like to take a clean little pick, little piece of wood or something, just give that a little rub so that you know you've got contact. Just make sure that's contacted, and that's, come on, focus, there you go. And that's two down. 3,750,000 to go. So I will continue to do that. But in this segment, before we sort of close it up, because you know, it really is about workflow and process, and just go through the steps of getting things done in a sort of not just these are not just, you know, sub builds, but you're also sort of following a workflow, and for me it just makes it a lot easier, and I believe it'll make it a lot easier for you guys as well. Wanted to talk about a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to talk about was I recalled I mentioned these two lights here. These are the impulse engines. Now, what I did was, and this is probably one of the only times that I'll do it, but what I did was I substituted the Tennacontrols LEDs, supplied LEDs, with the LEDs, this sort of a thing, that comes with the kit. And I'm going to do that for the navigation lights, strobe lights, the impulse engines, the strobes that are on either side of the hull, just left and right, port and starboard, I should say, of the shuttle bay. And I'll probably even substitute for the lighting of the shuttle bay itself. Now, the reason why is because, curiously, the LEDs that come with the Polar Lights lighting kit are white. They want you to paint your clear part red, which you certainly can do. Now, there are guys who use a very thin red clear, you know, a plastic card to diffuse it and make them red. There are guys who actually just take Tamiya clear red and paint those white bulbs, which you certainly can do, or you can just use red LEDs. I am preferring to use the red LEDs, and I also wanted to know if you could cut a wire and actually substitute it for another LED and have it plug and play. Now, I know a lot of you are rolling your eyes and going, well, of course you bloody can. As long as it's the same voltage and it is resisted, it's fine. But I don't know. In some cases, I have found that for whatever reason, you can't just automatically do that. Now, a lot of that might have to do with the voltage that these LEDs can actually handle. It is a 12-volt system, but some are not resisted until they get to the second board on this system, and you could blow something. I have, so I'm telling you from experience. Just be sure. But as long as you are resisted, you should be fine. And these were, and so I tested them. They worked great. Now they're red LEDs. I don't have to worry about my impulse engines being, having to color them. Now we will check diffusion, obviously, when we get back there, because I am going to use some paragraphics to crisp up those lines on the impulse engines and make those look good. There is a clear part that they offer you. And in the lighting kit, and we'll probably most likely be using that. And so that was the only substitution into the first kit that I've made. Everything else will be on its own boards. So the polar light system will be on its own boards. One lives in the lower saucer, and another one lives in the hull. And the second board, which will be the Tennacontrols board, will also live in the hull. But it is literally an inch by ½ inch long. It's a beautiful, tiny little board. So we just have to make sure that when we set it in the hull, it's not touching anything. It can't be touching any reflective metal tape if that's what you're using for bouncing light like I am. And it can't be touching any other wires because it will arc and you will short everything, and that'll be the end of that. So you do have to make sure that it is well insulated, but it'll live in there perfectly. And then that way you're only taking 2 thin wires out of the lower part of the hull into your posts to your stand and into your stand. And so for me, I just got 4 wires going into my my stand. Power for the polar light system and power for the Tennacontrol system, and I'll just neatly join those together, and bam, we'll be on a 12-volt system and everyone will be happy. At least that's the theory. As you can see, I mentioned I did put quite a bit of reflective tape in here, but you get fantastic bounce. You could go crazy. You could have painted the whole thing silver. You could paint the whole thing with a high gloss. But I found with a 12-volt system and these lights, as long as you've got bounce under the windows, as I have here, you're going to be perfectly fine. This really bounces light, and you can see already in my my overhead lights from my bench that it's doing a really nice job. So you'll get plenty of bounce from that. But as I said, always be careful about where you're, how that this metal tape is not touching any wiring. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about, because I've got plenty of masking to do, is these clear parts here. Now these clear parts are obviously for your bassards. Your interior and your exterior part. And the curious thing about this is if you're not using the motor, you won't get any rotation out of this. And so I've got to refresh my memory and make sure that that's going to be okay, because I really don't want to use those motors. But if I have no choice, I will do it for sure. But at this point, I'm not planning on it. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I've got to remind myself, and again, this is all part of workflow, and that no paint can touch any surface where these clear parts come in contact with the nacelle. It's an extremely tight friction fit, and I've seen a lot of guys who are trying to sand these parts, and I would prefer not to sand, get anything near these parts, because I have found, and I think it's relatively true, is that any kind of pressure, tension, you've even got to be careful when you're snipping these off. They'll shatter. they're just super, super, super delicate. And so you got to keep that in mind when you're cleaning off. There's a little bit of flash. You got to be super, super delicate and just go slowly, and you'll be fine. I am going to take I'm going to take some wire wool to these exterior parts to diffuse them. And I do believe actually that on the model itself, and I'm looking over here, I wasn't ready to do this, which is a no-no, but on the model itself, I wanted to see if I can find, yeah, here. So on the model itself, let's see here. Why don't we see? Here we go. You can see that this exterior piece is potentially coated with an orange, a light orange clear. Do you see that? Now, you could say, well, no, that's light bouncing from the inside, and it possibly is. But I'm going to do some further research and see whether or not they actually did add a little diffusion orange color to those domes, because I think that's important to know, because I am trying to mimic that 11-foot model that's in the Smithsonian. But anyway, that's your clear parts. So, in conclusion for this episode, I will continue to mask. I will continue to add my lights, and the next time we get together, this puppy will be closed up, and we'll start the exterior painting process. And we'll talk about that and matching paint and getting all those details right. And we'll also do some decaling. So we should have we should have a really a much more evolved kit. And I would say, if you're wondering, as of this filming, I have spent approximately about 30 hours so far to get to this point. And so, you know, that just sort of gives you a sense of it. It's definitely a couple of months, because you want to take your time. You want to let paint cure. You want to give yourself a chance to sand everything thoroughly, prime everything correctly, and then not to mention the fact that we've got seams we've got to deal with, which is a lot of puttying. So, but I'm not sure whether I'll talk about that. If I have any struggles, I probably will pass along. But again, if you're following this build, you know that I'm following all the other builds that came before me. It's not like out of my head I'm going, oh, well, I know how to build this model. No, I'm literally doing what it is that is so awesome about this community. I'm taking all of those resources and all of those great talents, and I'm following along, and I'm having a fun time, and I'm having a flawless time, because I know what mistakes were made. I know what was done to correct them or to avoid them. And that's what's making this build such pleasure. So I truly hope that you take this out of your stash if you have it, and build along and get it up on a shelf where it belongs. Okay? I hope you're enjoying this series. If you've just found me, please like and subscribe. It really means an awful lot to me. Go back from the very beginning. It is fun to watch this journey, and it'll give you a tremendous amount of confidence if you've never built something like this before, to tackle it. I think it's well worth it, because it's just, you got to have this in your collection, okay? Well, thanks a lot. As always, everybody, I wish you well. Please be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.